everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am Rebecca, your host of Crafting and Crime Daily, the show where I recap live trials. We are done with the Murdaugh case. Oh my gosh, you guys. Imagine my surprise Thursday evening. I had covered the closing arguments that day, and I I made tuna casserole, and it was cooking in the oven. It was almost done. I wanted to leave it in for a few more minutes, and one of my subscribers texts me, Melissa Brown, and she says, "Do you think it's going to be a verdict?" Now I was watching Law & Crime on my cell phone, and she goes, "Do you think it's a verdict or a question?" And I'm like, "What is she talking about?" Somehow I missed it. So I looked on the Law & Crime, and nobody knew if there was what it was going on, but they were letting people back into the courthouse, and nobody knew why, but they were letting the media in first. You know how they do it, that whatever, there's a method to their madness. So they were letting everybody back in. So I said, then it comes out, yes, there's a verdict. So I'm like, okay. Turned the oven off, took the tuna casserole out, told my sister, "Listen, I want to cover this verdict live. If you want to eat, I'll join you later." So I had tuna casserole later on. So I covered it live. 2 hours and 50 minutes. That is it. That's all they deliberated for a 6-week trial. A case that I've been covering for over a year was over in a matter of minutes. So here's what happened. The jury, when they went back after the chart, I covered the closings, and then they were going to have lunch, a late lunch, come back, get the jury charges, and start deliberating. So they get it late afternoon. They go back, they take a vote. 9 people say guilty, beyond a reasonable doubt. 2 people say not guilty. And one person's like, I don't know. So 45 minutes later, they were all guilty. Everybody was guilty. I don't know what they did with the rest of that time, but apparently what convinced at least the juror that I saw who gave an interview to Good Morning America was the kennel video. The kennel video. And the fact that he lied about it. They did not believe anything that came out of his mouth after that. And frankly, neither did I. That's what, I was sort of waffling back and forth. Like, to me, I felt like he was guilty, but it wasn't beyond a reasonable doubt for me until he sat on that stand, and I did cover this live as well, sits on the stand and said, "Yeah, that was me on the video." I'm like, what? Oh my God, you mean you lied? Yep. Lied to law enforcement, lied to his family, yeah, and did it so effortlessly, just crazy. So let me first of all, let me apologize for yesterday, the live that I put up a thumbnail, and then I was dressed, I had my kitty cat shirt on, and I was ready to go, and I'm sitting here diamond painting, and I thought, I don't feel good. And I couldn't pinpoint what was wrong. I just didn't feel good. I just thought, I don't know if I could do this live, because, I like to be cheerful and, entertaining, and I just didn't feel any of that yesterday. So I put canceled across the thumbnail. But you guys still came to the live and were looking for me, and I'm so sorry. So here's what happened. And I am totally open about my depression and anxiety diagnosis. Yes, that a lot of us have it, and that's just the way it is. So I take a medication for that, and I could have swore that I took the medication. I take it at night. I could have swore that Saturday night I took it. I remember taking it. At least I think I did. So last night I take my next dose. I start feeling better. I'm like, and my sister kept saying, "Well, what are your symptoms?" I'm like, I don't know. I just don't feel right. My head feels weird. And it was the medicine. Every time I accidentally skip a dose, I should know that that's what it is. But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I hate being at the mercy of a medication that has such control over my life, that if I don't take it, that's what happens, yeah. So that's my excuse. Sorry. So let me tell you what else is going on. There is a new trial. This is the trial of a gentleman named Michael Keeley, and this is out of Florida. We're going back to Florida. The trial starts today. It actually started last week. They spent the first Monday through Thursday picking the jury. Now here's the thing. I'd have been awfully ticked off if I had jury duty last week in the middle of the Murdaugh trial. I'd be like, dadgummit, I'm watching the Murdaugh trial. Can I be excused, please? No. Anyway, Michael Keeley is charged with aggravated murder of 2 people, and he injured several others in a shooting that occurred Thanksgiving of 2010, 13 years ago. Now, for some reason, and I want to, before I talk too in depth about this case, which I want to do tomorrow, I want to do a lot of research. I want to find out what happened and get all the background on it, who this person is. I want to tell you the story of Michael Keeley before I bring it to you. But the judge is so familiar to me. I don't know why. I need to look that guy up. What's the judge? Who's the judge? I've seen this judge before. So tomorrow, don't let me forget to tell you where I know this judge from, because he's been in a prior case, and it could not have been that long ago, because I remember saying, oh, I like this judge. Anyway, so he was a driver of an ice cream truck, and there was some kind of dispute over $12, and people ended up dead. This case does not get tried. It happened in 2010. It does not get tried until 2020. And then when it does get tried, there's a hung jury. They can't make a decision, which means it ends in a mistrial and has to be tried again, which brings us to today. The judge gave the jury, they spent Monday through Thursday picking the jury. He gave them Friday off, said, let's start fresh on Monday morning. And so they did. So tomorrow I'll bring you the whole story. I'll cover the opening statements for you. And that'll be the show for tomorrow. But today, I got 2 cases that I want to talk about. The case of Dylan Rounds and the case of Lori and Chad Daybell. Now, Lori and Chad Daybell, oh man, this is what a tangled web we weave. This is a really interesting case. And as soon as I start talking about, I'm sure you're going to remember what case this is. They've been known as the Doomsday Couple. So they are charged with multiple counts of first-degree murder for the deaths of Joshua Vallow, they called him JJ, he was 7 years old, and Tylee Ryan, she was 16 years old. Both are the children of Lori Daybell. Although JJ was not her biological son, she adopted him. He was her 4th husband's son, brought into the marriage. Lori has a history of 5 marriages. Her maiden name was Cox. Then it was Giannis. Then it was LaGoya. Then it was Ryan. Then it was Vallow. Then it was Daybell. And she's not that old, let me tell you. She does have one older son by a previous marriage. One of these marriages. I don't know which one. And there is a string of suspicious deaths that surround this couple, including her previous husband, Charles Vallow. Did I say they were also charged with the murder of Tammy Daybell, which is Chad Daybell's ex-wife? Yeah, 3 murders. But let me tell you about the death of Charles Vallow, her previous husband. He got into an argument with her brother. Their brother said he came at me with a baseball bat, so I shot him. So the police did not charge him. They felt like it was justified. He killed Charles Vallow. Charles had been complaining for months, maybe even years, about the sanity of Lori Vallow. And he just was being ignored. Because anytime Lori would be interviewed, she'd sound completely normal. She would sound sane. But in any case, it's believed that the brother, Lori's brother, Alexander Cox, who shot and killed Charles Vallow, may have had something to do with the murders of JJ and Tylee. But he passed away in December of 2019 on the bathroom floor when he suffered a pulmonary embolus, which is a blood clot. Yeah. Or else he probably would have been in trial right along with Lori and Chad. So let me tell you a little bit about this couple. Chad and Lori are members of the LDS Church, founded by Joseph Smith. Chad has self-published. He's a minister of sorts. He self-publishes these end of times apocalypse books about, he believes he had 31 different lives on many separate planets. And in 2015, God told him, he lived in Utah at the time, God told him, you need to move to Idaho. So he takes his wife Tammy and they move to Idaho. Now, Tammy passes away in October of 2019. Now, just before that, weeks before that, someone had mysteriously attacked her in the driveway. She survives that. And then on October 19th of 2019, she mysteriously dies in her sleep. It's ruled a natural death. No autopsy was performed. But after all this stuff goes down that I'm going to tell you about, her body is exhumed and an autopsy is done. Now, that autopsy report has never been revealed. We do not know what's in that report. Can't wait to see what is going to happen with that. So, just weeks after the death of Tammy Daybell, Lori and Chad run off and get married. Now, let me tell you about Lori. Lori, like I've already said, she's had 5 husbands. In around 2015, she starts becoming obsessed with Chad's books. She's read them all. She's obsessed with them, and she wants to meet this guy. So a meeting is arranged in the fall of 2018, and by the end of the weekend that she meets Chad Daybell, he says, you and I were married in 7 different lives. Okay. And he says, she claims she was reincarnated. She's the reincarnation of the wife of Joseph Smith, the founder of the LDS Church. Okay, sure you were. So they run off and they get married. The last time her children were seen is in 2019, September of 2019. Now, we're talking in November now. They're running off to get married. And people are saying, hey, where's the kids? Where are the kids? And they run off to Hawaii. And they're running around Hawaii. And people are saying, hey, where's the kids? So she says, oh, they're with my friend Melanie, who lives up in Arizona. Well, Melanie says, no, they're not. No, not with me. Nobody knows where these kids are. So in February of 2020, Lori is arrested in Hawaii, and she is charged with desertion and non-support of her dependent children. Still, we don't know where these children are. So they execute a search warrant on Chad Daybell's property, and in shallow graves they find JJ and Tylee deceased. So they are both charged with the murder of these children. So sad. Now there's other evidence, I'm sure, that we have not heard about yet. So here's what happens procedurally with this case. They both have different defense attorneys. Chad's defense attorney has moved several times to have the case severed because Lori was declared incompetent to stand trial. Now, what that means is that her mental status is such that she is unable to assist with her defense, and she is unable to understand the proceedings. Not necessarily that she was mentally ill at the time of the crimes. That's a different determination, but that she's incompetent to stand trial. So everything is halted because you cannot try somebody that's incompetent. So she's getting mental health care. She becomes competent to stand trial, and everything proceeds. The two cases together. Now, meanwhile, Chad's asking, can you sever this because she becomes incompetent again? And the judge saying, no, I'm not going to sever it because it's too expensive. It's going to be a multiple week trial, and it's a duplication of evidence. No, we're not going to sever the case. So last week there was hearings. At this point, Lori is competent to stand trial for the second time. So she has asked for a speedy trial, which is kind of weird because you're the one that became incompetent all those times. We're talking 2020, 3 years. So now you want a speedy trial. And her attorney has said, I would be joining in this motion to continue because there was a problem with DNA evidence. There was some DNA found on a hair that was found at the crime scene. I don't know which crime scene. Tammy Daybell's crime scene, Tylee and JJ's crime scene. I don't know what crime scene it is. But they found a hair, and they're doing this new DNA testing on it. The state is. And they haven't given the hair, for lack of a better, the evidence to the defense to have their expert test it. And their expert is going to take them weeks for him to test it and get them the report. So they have asked again, can we sever this case? Because meantime, Lori is saying, hey, I want a speedy trial. It's set for April 3rd. I want to go to trial on April 3rd. Her defense says, I'd be joining in this motion to continue or sever or whatever because I think we need more time for this DNA analysis, but my client wants to go to trial. So the judge really had no choice but to sever these cases. So on April 3rd, I will be covering the trial of Lori Daybell. It has now been severed. Chad Daybell, his trial will be reset to another day down the road. It could be 6 months. It could be 2 years. Who knows? So we're going to have 2 trials here, unless something changes between now and April 3rd. But it should be very entertaining. Now, it's interesting. I don't know what the status of the cameras are going to be. I think they're going to, for now, all the pretrial stuff, the cameras have not been allowed in the courtroom. There was one proceeding where the camera was, before this ban on cameras, the camera that was in the courtroom at the time kept focusing on Lori. And she was primping and, playing to the camera. And so there were some complaints about that. So the judge just does not allow any cameras during any of the proceedings. The proceedings can be recorded. That's how, I listen to the recordings of the proceedings, but there's no cameras there. But I believe that there will be cameras for the actual trial. Yeah, wow. Okay, the next case I want to talk about is the case of Dylan Rounds. As you guys might recall, he disappeared about 9 months ago. I covered this case, and young man out in Utah, like borderline Utah, Idaho, up there, and he was a farmer. He had some property that he was farming, and my understanding is very difficult property to farm, but he was making a go of it by himself. He had a little trailer on the property. He called his grandmother Memorial Day weekend, that Friday night, May 28th of 2022, and he said, he's talking to Grandma, and then he says, oh, Grandma, it's about to rain. I need to go put the grain truck in the shed so the grain doesn't get wet. So that's the last time he's heard from. So that Monday, family members go out to his property. They find his truck, they find his trailer, they find a pair of boots that has blood stains on them, but he is nowhere to be found. So they start this extensive search. No one can find, they just cannot find this guy. What they find is there's a squatter on his property named James Brenner. They also find some blood, a stain of blood behind a dirt pile on this property. Now, I don't know how big this property is, but anyway, James Brenner is a squatter on the property. James Brenner has a very violent history. He is a convicted felon. At one point, the police go out to his trailer. They find guns in the trailer, and he is arrested for possession of weapons because he's a convicted felon. He's not supposed to have these weapons. So they arrest him on that while they're gathering other evidence. So apparently, Dylan, we know from the probable cause affidavit, which is where the police will put together what evidence they have or what evidence they want the judge to know that they have. They probably have other stuff as well. But they put together a paragraph and they send it to the judge. And here's our reason we want this. We believe that this man should be charged with the murder of Dylan Rounds. And the judge agreed. So part of that evidence is they found Dylan Rounds' phone at the bottom of Lucin Pond, which is on the property. And they were actually able, I don't know how much time had passed before they found it, but they were actually able to extract data from that phone. And there was a video on the phone. On that video is James Brenner. He is wearing a bloody shirt and he is cleaning a weapon. So they search his property, they find the bloody shirt, and on the bloody shirt is the DNA of Dylan Rounds. Now the blood stain on the boots and the blood stain on near the dirt pile also have DNA of Dylan Rounds and James Brenner. So that's the probable cause to arrest James Brenner. So there will be much more on that to come in the future. Another case we'll be covering if he pleads not guilty. He's also been charged with desecration of a body. Now, to me, desecration means you did something weird to the body, and maybe did they find the body? And no. Desecration also means he's hiding the body and he's not telling where it is. He has not told anybody what he has done with this body. Now, maybe he will. We expect that he will be appearing in court, maybe even today, to be arraigned. So once you're charged with something, then there's an arraignment where you come before a judge. Usually it's within 24 hours, but since it happened on Friday, I expect it'll happen today where he'll plead not guilty or guilty, and court dates will be assigned, and the judge will be assigned, and all that stuff will proceed. The long road to justice will begin. Okay, so yeah, so that's the show for today, guys. We've had reincarnations, we've had murders, we've had the ice cream man, and there's my clock. Oh, the poor thing, the clock. I think it needs a new battery. It chimes at 40 minutes after the hour. I cannot get it to chime at the top of the hour. I've tried all these different things, take the battery out, but it wants to chime at 40 minutes after the hour, which is probably why it was on sale at Goodwill. But it's so pretty. Anyway. All right, guys. I will see you tomorrow morning. Well, I will bring you the case of Michael Keatley, the ice cream man, tell you all about it, all the background of it in Florida. I'll let you know where I've seen this judge before. And don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Yep. Let me know that you enjoyed the content. Consider subscribing. If you're already subscribed, consider becoming a member of the channel. Your donations go to help to support the content of the channel. Yep. Look, diamond painting. Diamond painting, diamond painting. This is a mystery canvas, so I have no idea what I'm painting. And this is the top. The person that bought it for me said, hey, start at the top. Apparently, if I start at the bottom, I'll figure it out. I don't know. Here's the painting I was working on last week, the Dragon's Door. It's complete. It's so beautiful. I just love it. Anyway, guys, have a great day, great Monday. I will see you tomorrow in Crafting and Crime Daily. Bye.